It's a
No,
fairly
it's
universal phenomenon across
yeah.
cultures and across countries. This is being observed. It's like some voluntary amnesia. They've just decided it's over.
But what marks us apart is, for example, I'll give a personal experience. There was a tree which was almost dying. Small tree. I mean, it was only 3 feet tall, 2, 3 feet tall. So during the summer, we kept watering it every day. It was a tree on the street, but not encroaching anywhere, not disturbing anybody. And in the last 3, 4 months of daily watering, it grew up 8 to 10 feet. Now we said nothing can happen to it, and it's just matter of satisfaction that you water that little plant. It's not a tree now; it's growing into a tree. Last week, when we were walking, we found somebody had hacked it.
Ah, my
Hacked.
God.
And it was a tiny. It's like an adolescent plant. It was not, and it had strong stem. The stem had strengthened a lot. The stem was a good 2 inches. So 2 inches is not at least 1.5 inches. It's strong. It's not a twig that you can break.
Yeah.
Trees. They had hacked it, and I know who's hacked it. But I mean, I found out in the sense these are the same boys who keep moving around and like you say they're bored. So, but if you're bored, does it mean that you harm things, harm others, harm trees, throw stones at dogs? This is one country where it's not even Africa doesn't behave this way. Although we think Africa is backward. You can see it, in the university, in the class, you can see the way they write letters. 4-letter words. I'm now exploring an FIR against a student under the IT Act. Can you put the worst 4-letter words in an email when you write as a student? And this student, he's an area student. But you write. I mean, today's an open world. You write. You send an email right to the top, because today you can send an email to the Prime Minister. Fine, but with 4-letter words. And he was advised. He was advised saying, "Don't do this," and again and again and again. So what we've done is just blocked him. That's all. Too bad. This is the kind of society we have. And that's not an outlier anymore. It's not as though it's just 1 in 1,000.
I guess so.
Okay, I think it's 5 o'clock now.
5 o'clock. Just about. Rajiv, is there any way we could stop entries right now, because if this is going to pop in, it's going to disturb Dr. Shankar while she talks. It's just popping up on the screen every minute with a ping there.
We will have to ignore it. It can keep popping.
You don't worry, I'll keep doing it with that. Already we're reaching the limit of 250. It's only 248 now. So I think after 250, they may not admit anyone also.
No, this is an open platform. You can have as many as you want here. Shouldn't be an issue.
That's what you see. 250, they stop now. No, they're taking in more. 250. Okay. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I'm Satya Arora, Chairman of PR Committee of Institute of Marine Engineers, and welcome you all to this interaction session by Delhi branch on maritime education and shipping in general with Dr. Malini Shankar. Please keep your mics on mute at all times. I would now request our President, Mr. Uday Purohit, to welcome and introduce Dr. Malini Shankar. Over to Uday.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Dr. Malini Shankar, a pleasure to have you here today. Truly, she needs no introduction, so I won't go into an introduction. Our former Director General of Shipping, we knew her as a very forthright, decisive person. We've interacted with the office. Can you just get people to mute, please? We've interacted with you, Dr. Shankar, during those days. We are happy to see you as the Vice Chancellor of the IMU. There's a lot to be done. There are several questions that are bound to come in. I'll leave the platform to you. Let's hear you, Dr. Shankar. And once again, thank you for joining us this evening.
Good evening, and I hope all of you are staying safe and healthy in these difficult, unprecedented, challenging circumstances. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share a few thoughts. It's my pleasure and to meet so many of you in one platform. So, the president of the IMEI Delhi chapter and office bearers and ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I will start with something that I've been reading lately in the shipping news. Some encouraging what they call green shoots. So the BIMCO has actually reported that container shipping fleet has actually grown 1.6% since the beginning of the year. And it is expected to round off the year by about 2.1% growth, which is very, very encouraging considering what we went through at the beginning of the pandemic. And everything seemed to be going down. There was no trade and there were no goods and there was no demand. It's also reported that the container shipping has sailed through the pandemic largely unscathed, as ship sharing alliances and supply curbs to bolster freight rates have helped operators to offset a tepid trade demand. Shipping data also hints to some recovery in global trade in the third quarter after a dramatic slowdown earlier in the year, and this is a report by UNCTAD, UNCTAD. In fact, in August, it's reported that the trade is just 3% below the pre-pandemic levels and compared to year-on-year the previous year. The other indicator, shadow indicator, is e-way bill generation. That is reported to be inching closer to pre-pandemic levels. So there is, if not something to cheer about, there is something to look forward to. Things are not all that bad. Now coming to the specific topic of maritime training and education, we all know that the shipping industry expanded tremendously around the turn of the millennium, which led to the need for expanding the training grounds, and therefore came the number of private maritime training institutions, MTIs. So originally, starting from just 4 or 5 government institutions, we now have expanded to closer to 180 maritime training institutions. As the DGS, Director General Shipping, I think I took steps to streamline the maritime training and education. That's because we found several discrepancies in the information that was flowing in from the MPIs. We detected some inadequate infrastructure. We also found, unfortunately, a few fly-by-night operators, which is natural when you have an expansion of that size. Since the decade of its, now that's about the private MPIs and what we did to put a lot of systems in place, and this was done to the best of my ability in consultation with the entire private MPIs. Now, IMU, as you all know, has been established. It's been a decade in existence. It has seen a muted growth in the industry. I mean, it has seen a growth. Now we have about 2,900 students in total, including the students who are in 18 affiliated colleges in a spectrum of subjects, which include even maritime management, but not limited to that. It is obviously marine engineering, nautical side. The shipping industry itself has seen a muted growth. Otherwise, the number of institutions would have expanded, and even the number of students intake in IMU would have expanded. There has been competition in the sector, some fair and some unfair also. And IMU, being a government institution and bound by the laws and the regulations of the central government, we do find, especially the UGC, we do find challenges in hiring the best teaching staff. So in a way, in my short experience of less than 2 months, I feel sometimes we're asked to swim with hands tied. I will be very brief in my presentation so that we can have more of an interaction. So if you ask me now, what are the immediate challenges that I faced once I joined? I must admit and confess that I am new to the field of higher education as an administration of higher education. I have never worked in the education department or higher and technical education department of the state, so it's something new. So the new challenge too, we had two major challenges in the last 1 or 2 months. One was admissions. I mean, how do you conduct admissions in these difficult circumstances? The last few years, the admissions have been through the common entrance test, which has worked very well. And in fact, there was a move to say that there should be a common entrance test for all the MPIs put together, and that should be conducted by the IMU. We were putting those systems in place when few entities went to the High Court and there was a stay saying, please don't do it this year. So the common entrance test would have, like previous years, been done just for IMU and the colleges that are affiliated to the IMU. Unfortunately, we could not do that. We took a judicious decision that it was not really possible to spread our resources thin and to conduct the exams in about 72 centers across the country in a circumstance where transport was a challenge. And we did not have the bandwidth that perhaps the organizers of IIT, JEE exams and NEET did. So now we have said that we will just go by the +2 marks, but the best possible normalization for which we are involving people who are experts in statistics and educationalists. So that's number one. We hope to complete the admission procedure in the next few weeks. The second challenge, which was again unprecedented, was how do you conduct the exams of the semester, last semester, the semester which ended in June, July. That was a major challenge, especially for marine engineering, because the 8th semester of the marine engineering course is exams only based on practicals, which means you are tested on your knowledge that you've acquired when you go aboard a ship or in a workshop or in a ship in campus. And many of them had not could not avail of any of this due to the lockdown. So that still continues to be a challenge, but we have worked out a way. And then there were these intermediate semesters also. So finally, even that has been decided, but we had to work very hard to find a balance between easing the students' life, not putting too much burden on them, but also ensuring that you don't lower the bar for education, because that is going to affect their future, whether they go in for higher studies or they seek a career. Now, those are the two challenges. Future plans. What is it that we would like to do in the IMU, and where is it that we see cooperation from all the stakeholders in the maritime shipping and trade industry? Is the first thing, and this has come as feedback, this has been coming as feedback from the industry for a long time, is our curriculum sufficient to match the demands and the changing evolution of the industry itself? Now, at one extreme is the suggestion that we should train our boys and girls for actually automated shipping, AI, blockchain, everything. But then a more basic thing is the curriculum, is the knowledge they acquire and the degree they acquire preparing them to go into a job and deliver their best. So this is one thing, review of the curriculum. What does the industry need? And this is where many of the alumni, not the alumni of IMU and its predecessor institutions who are occupying very good positions at the moment in the industry, would be able to help in communicating to us and giving suggestions and interacting with us to see to what extent the review curriculum can be changed. It has to be in compliance with the STCW, but it also has to meet the demands of the industry. The second is this rationalization of the courses itself. How many of these courses are redundant, and what are the new areas in which we need to strengthen the coursework. Some have to be expanded, some have to be closed down, some have to be merged. That's number 2. Number 3 is faculty. And if we consider the entire education system in India at the moment, I think across sectors and across universities and colleges, there is one concern, which is, are we getting the best faculty? And if you don't get the best faculty, and if you don't get faculty who are interested in constant learning and imparting the best to their students, then I think the whole education sector, the human resource capabilities will be found to be wanting. So we are looking at designing a faculty upgradation program. Also, how do you assess the faculty and their continuation in a government system which is more or less time bound unless otherwise shown. So that's a third one. But here again, I think we will be seeking the industry's cooperation in getting guest faculty. So not visiting faculty alone, not contract faculty alone, but guest faculty. And the last point is on the future plans as of now. And I'm delineating only the 4 major directions, is collaborations and partnerships. Partnerships with industry, collaborations with other institutions, collaboration with even foreign institutions to look at student exchange, a semester abroad, faculty exchange, research collaborations, all of it or at least some of it. We've already in this direction, we've had a inquiry from a very good institution in Greece, and the government of Russia has also reached out. We already started talking to them, but there will be many more before we come to a very concrete MOU. And MOUs have remained. IMU has signed a few MOUs, but they've remained on paper. How do we activate these MOUs and how do we fund them? Because one of the biggest challenges that we have in the university now is it was doing very well till 2017, and in the last 2 years, it's become negative. Its expenditure outgo is much more than the income. So the government has said I think this is good news for everybody that you might be knowing that the Ministry of Shipping is coming out with a document, Vision 2030. It has identified 14 thrust areas, and at least one thrust area is very focused. This is thrust area 7, if it's available on the Ministry of Shipping website, is dedicated to enhancement of maritime training and education. And the ministry, especially the Honorable Minister, he is very keen that we along with the industry and along with all stakeholders, we look at certain interventions. The larger objectives are very ambitious on the part of the ministry, which is to say that we have to have at least 2 or 3 institutions which will be in the top 10 globally in maritime education. Look at partnerships with the best of universities. And even regarding training and education, they have suggested a couple of things, which is, why don't we have a dual degree program? For example, why should it be only marine engineering or especially nautical, BSc nautical science? How do we introduce computer programming or computer studies or computer engineering into the curriculum so that when the student goes out into the industry, they are not just knowing the basics, but they also are prepared, future ready for, because in future already we have a lot of these electronics and engineering and sensor oriented equipment, so they have to be prepared to deal with that. So dual degree programs is one. New areas for both education and research, maritime finance, maritime law, and they've identified about 50 areas for specialization. So and this is a work in progress, and I think the ministry is planning to present the vision document to the Honorable Prime Minister in a month or 2. So this is the background of what are the thoughts which have gone into the IMU as an entity and into the whole sector by the ministry. So I think I personally believe, I've always believed, and I do believe that human capital is the most important and the wealthiest resource of a nation. And I think if we are not realizing our potential, and if we are not achieving our objectives of becoming a 5 trillion economy or make in India, it is, I think somewhere there is a shortfall in the human capital that we are generating through our institutions. The second thing I believe in is competition has to be met head on by striving to raise the bar and not by taking concessions. So, but the challenge is to have a change in mindset among the people, among the entire team, to see how we can achieve that. So to conclude, I look forward to the participation of all the stakeholders and specifically the IMEI in this voyage to contribute and to give us suggestions in terms of guest lectures, career guidance. I plan to start something called a knowledge series, which will give, you invite a top expert in any field, preferably maritime, but it could be any field, to talk to the students, because I think what is missing among the student community today, and this is again feedback from my DGS days, is the attitudes and the skills, but beyond that, the ability to clarity of thought and expression, critical thinking, critical analysis, which can come only by expanding the perspective, the breadth of vision of the student community. I also look forward to your inputs regarding curriculum and courses, and in the end, inputs where possible, where feasible, where you believe that you can contribute by way of CSR activities to enhance the infrastructure, social and physical infrastructure of the IMU and its associated campus and colleges. So with that, I think I have shared in brief what I had to share, because it's been a very brief period that I've been in the university, and I cannot really profess to be aware of every single aspect. I hope this will be a continued dialogue that both the entities can benefit from. Thank you.
Dr. Shankar, thank you so much. Wonderfully crisp speech from you. I'm going to start taking questions. So, ladies and gentlemen, please type out your questions on the chat. I'll take them one by one. We've got enough time for Dr. Shankar to address it. Doctor, I'm going to start off with Maritime Vision 2030. So the IMEI was part of that working group 7. I think a lot of thought went into it. Dr. Sujata was also there. So were the acting vice chancellor of the IMU, etc. I think we put in a decent document. You touched upon raising the bar, and the 3 things you talked upon: curriculum, rationalization of courses, faculty. I think it more or less aligns with what Vision 2030 is. The first question, and I've got 2 others here. The first question is, if you do a gap analysis today of wanting to be amongst of our institutes, at least 2 or 3 being amongst the top 10 maritime universities in the world, and what we are today, how do we assess this gap? How do we assess this gap today? And from there, the action plan that needs to go ahead, Doctor.
Yeah, that's the real question, and it's a very valid question. Thank you for raising it. This is the Vision 2030 identified what is the objective, because without having a very ambitious objective, you will never have an action plan. So now we are in the process of, thrashing it out, the minute details, and seeing what are the gaps. What would be the strategy to fix those gaps? And then there is an action plan to do that. These are basically in 2 or 3 broad areas. One would be, I think the first is academics. So that comes to curriculum. Is our curriculum on par with something which is expected internationally? Or is it at least meeting the requirements of national interest, the maritime security, etc.? Are we generating enough experts? Before jumping to international standard, as always in marketing, they say if you are good at marketing in the domestic arena, then you will be definitely good in the export. So we have to be good in meeting our own requirements. So that's the curriculum. The second thing is we plan to actually, there is a national accreditation method by which IITs have developed that. So we plan to, apply that to IIMs and see where we stand vis-a-vis there is a series of about 40 or 50 parameters that have been brought up by, which have been enunciated by IIT under different categories of academics, faculty, student inputs, etc. So, but the most critical thing according to me is faculty, especially in the seafaring community. I think the difference in the remuneration that you get if you go to sea or if you go to the corporate sector and what you get in a government institution is too vast to bridge, and that I don't think the government will be able to bridge it. So how do we identify a few people from outside who can contribute and complement those who are within the university? Because within the university, they are not practitioners. Not all the professors and assistant professors are practitioners. You need the theory. Like today, I was talking to that Russian university vice chancellor, and they said even there they have 70% theory and 30% practical. So even our faculty should match that. 70% is theory. But my concern is over a period of time, the kind of professors, the teachers we have, and the kind of students we have a different dynamics. And how do we incentivize? How do we motivate these faculty to just do better and not just say, I have a permanent job and this is 9 to 6. And I'm sure that's a challenge in many sectors in India, especially within government.
True. Doctor, while staying on the issue of faculty, I have a question from Thomas Matthias. He says, how can we attract the best faculty by offering them high remuneration alone? There should also be a way to recruit the best faculty in some other way. Also, is this 10-day course enough to prepare people who are going out to sea, to prepare them for a teaching profession? He continues that visiting faculty with so little remuneration offered are not ready to travel to far-off cities to get the VICT course by spending almost ₹1 lakh rupees. So I know you touched upon them, but maybe briefly you could address Mr. Thomas Mathai.
We're in the process of recruiting faculty. And when I saw the process which has been last concluded, I think they put out, let's say you call for, there are 10 posts and 30 people apply. And your recruitment is 0 because either they are not willing to join, they've got something better, or they are not found suitable. Now, this is a spread that we have in every field. And this is not unique to IMU. This seems to be, the quality of faculty is a challenge in every institution, unless you're an ISB or an IIM.
Yeah.
ISB pays you very well, and IIM, you have a brand value saying you're working for IIM, right? So
absolutely.
That's why I said how to get faculty is the biggest challenge. And I think, if I go back to my school days, the teachers who, taught me are very different from the teachers who are teaching the young kids today. Is it the money that's attracting them? Money is, like if you go to government schools, the teachers I think are overpaid in the interior government schools for the kind of output they have. But I remember my teachers coming and teaching not because of the money, but because they loved being with children. They loved learning every day. They loved imparting, sharing their knowledge. And when their students went on to study well and occupy good posts, it was a great source of pleasure for them. And today life has become too transactional. I get paid, I teach, I pay you the money, I get the degree. So it's a societal challenge today, but we have to try and do so.
We have to address it.
Yeah, so that's why one of the things we are looking at, and I believe I was talking to the Joint Secretary in one of the ministries in Delhi, And he said, ma'am, you will find this to be the biggest challenge. But what we would like to do is actually have a faculty exchange program. So slowly, if you do this over a period of time, if a faculty can go to another university abroad and be there for 1 semester, be there for 15 days, so you come back, there are a couple of you get incentivized by saying, okay, I've gone abroad, the university has sent me abroad, I'm happy. Or you come back with sheer knowledge of there is a different methodology to teach, there's a different pedagogy, there's something that you learn. But ultimately, if you are coming into the education field, you have to have a hunger for knowledge. If you do not have it, I think it's extremely difficult. And we've expanded our schools, colleges, universities to such an extent that the number of people with that kind of thirst for knowledge is not kept pace with the number of institutions.
I agree with you. Before we get on to another question related to faculty, Amulya Mani Tripathi asks you, ma'am, why are we still taught with the help of hand tools when we have power tools and computerized machinery available? So maybe that's a direction that Maritime Vision 2030 also points us towards. Your thoughts on it?
See, one factor could be, there are two factors in my opinion, and now I'm talking off the cuff because, as I said, there have been no students on campus, there have been no classrooms, so I have not had a face-to-face interaction with the faculty. But one factor in upgrading the tools in a government institution is the lack of funds. So I would like to have a virtual reality simulator, but that costs money. The second point is I get a virtual reality simulator and I don't have a person who can actually operate it very well and use that as an excellent teaching tool. So while you have technology is one thing, acquiring the technology is the easy part, but managing the technology is not that easy. And I'll give you a parallel in the health sector. Corporations and municipal corporations and medical colleges, government medical colleges, they have been purchasing the high-end ventilators. And they've been lying there because there is no trained personnel and trained technician to, look at it. So these are challenges. Having said that, you can have computers, graphics, AI, everything to, teach you what you want. But I think in every field, you have to start. There is no substitute for the caliper, the protractor, the compass to understand the basic concepts. And then you can start applying it in any automated system. So you have to have hand tools. You have to know. Now, you go into a ship, I'm sure you need to use a hand tool at times. Not always a power tool, so you have to know everything. And if you, in an emergency, there is no, you need the basics. So you have to be taught the spectrum from the, hand tool, power tool to the AI, remotely controlled everything.
Great. Dr. Shankar, before I take the next question, I'm going to provoke you into a thought process which a lot of alumni have been talking to me about. So one is you talked of resources to really acquire these in institutes like yours. If you look at the IITs and the IIMs, if you look at the Ivy Leagues, a lot of money comes from alumni donations to these institutes. I would like to suggest and that the IMU has somehow alienated the alumni, especially from the engineering side. I'm talking about DMET. So DMET by itself, if you see the strong legacy today, I mean, if you see the who's who of the shipping industry, you'll find DMETians everywhere. But
Yes.
none of us feel a bond to IMU. I don't know whether it's our fault or whether the IMU has done something wrong. But if we were to make the alumni, I think a very significant part of the IMU, can I suggest to you that might help a lot of people to come back, because we do have a feeling for our alma mater, and could that be a way forward, Dr. Shankar?
Yes, I think the very fact that I'm here sitting and engaging with you is an indication, is a message that we're, the university is open, and not only open, it's, if you see my message on the website, for the alumni website, I've clearly said that you are our brand ambassadors, and engaging with you is a must. It's not just an option, it is a must. And I think it is regrettable that there was this gap between the alumni and the IMU. And if I can hazard a reason, it could be that the IMU felt that it starts only in 2008-9 and its alumni is only post 2009, and everything that preceded it were not alumni. This is one of my achievements in the last month. I've said no, alumni includes, because every single institution which was a predecessor institution of the IMU has been subsumed into IMU. So there is no standalone, institution called VMet or IMet or whatever. So the alumni website, I've said, okay, because it was pointed out to me, fortunately, that if you want to register as an alum, it says you have to have graduated post 2009 or 13. So that has been rectified. We have given drop downs to our constituent, past constituent institutions, and I would invite you and really, nudge you to go and register yourself. So that's one thing which has been done, and that is the beginning of an engagement with the alumni. Regarding the funds, yes, the statute of the university, the act itself provides for it has a provision that you can invite funds and get funds from the alumni, or constitute, certain funds for a specific purpose. I believe that it required ordinance and a regulation to be passed for management of the funds. That is in the final stages. So once that goes through the relevant, councils, the finance committee and the executive committee, I think we will be in a position to seek your kind indulgence in opening your heart, minds, and pockets to, and with specific purpose. And I think you are absolutely right. The alums contribute. I have contributed to a college, a simple college that I've gone to it wasn't an engineering college, but I have contributed to my school, contributed to my college, because I think many of us would feel we are where we are because of the input from the institution. It could be a teacher, it could be the headmistress, it could be anything. But I think a good percentage of us will have that connect, especially as we grow older and we'll be more comfortable in our life. So I would definitely getting that fund, the regulations made and passed, and then we will engage with you to see how much we can do.
So, Dr. Shankar, thank you very much. That's very reassuring. And before I move to that question, I just want to tell you, I also work with the ex-DMET association. I do some work here, and we did a survey last month, and we had over 200 respondents, and every one of them said that they would love to contribute both with money and effort to the alma mater. They just don't know how to structure it, and I think under your leadership, we are really looking forward to you being all inclusive of the alumni, even post 2008. If in some manner you could also recognize DMET, and I'm sure it will be the same with Chanakya and others, DMET as a legacy, a strong legacy, it would go a long way in people opening their hearts, their wallets, and their brains to the IMU, ma'am. So it's something that we are really looking forward to.
There can be no two opinions about recognizing that legacy. Each of those institutions have contributed, and I think very richly. We will definitely look forward to a very mutually beneficial interaction.
Thank you, ma'am. It's an absolute pleasure to hear these words. And I'm sure all the alums listening onto this program would be very thrilled. Yes, please.
Yeah, may I make a request? May I, request you to go to the website and register, and please,
will do.
Mr. Purohit, if they have problems and if they find that, because it was done in a very short period, if there are problems, if you can get back to me with the problems, we'll try to rectify that also.
I will.
Because there can be teething problems.
I will do that. Jason Varghese asked you that can IMU collaborate from a foreign university from leading maritime nations like UK, Denmark, etc. You did address this, for teaching and simulated online classes to overcome the shortage and improve quality with flexibility of the technology currently available? That's his question. He further asked that Gujarat Maritime University, government-enabled university, is maritime sector. Why is it separate from IMU's offerings? So these are the two questions Mr. Varghese has for you.
The first point is, as I said, we would like to upgrade, raise the part of raising the bar is the inputs that we give within our own university. So if we have to acquire a VR simulator, we will try our best to get funds from the government. And that's where it would help if the alumni fund comes in and the government doesn't give it. We can definitely, an alumni group of alumni can say, I want to just fund the VR simulator and that's it. I don't fund anything else. So, but we are not precluding the possibility, and we are exploring the possibility of having, exchange programs or contacting partnership with foreign universities. But I would say that it depends on the willingness of the foreign university to actually share their, it might be a patent issue, it may be anything. So depending, they're also going to say, what is in it for me? So, and are our students in a position to be able to pay that fee? It's an affordability issue. So there are multiple issues in this. As far as but we will try our best. I think we should give our boys and girls the best in the country, at least if not in 6 campuses, we should get it at least 1 campus at a time and move on. As far as Gujarat Maritime University is concerned, that is a state university. It's governed by the state government. It's not a central university. And the state government probably felt that you see the Gujarat Maritime Board, for example, we all have to acknowledge that that is the most robust maritime board in the country. Every state has a maritime board, but Gujarat Maritime Board stands well apart from others. I mean, it's you look, they own Alang. What more can you say? And that is the biggest shipbreaking and ship recycling facility in the entire world. So it's a different. So they have the money. They would have said, okay, let's train our own students. Why should they go to Chennai? Why should they go to Kolkata? So it's a decision which is independent, and the central government does not interfere with such decisions. Although IMU did open up a campus in Kandla, I'm told, in 2009, but there were not enough students and it wound up. But perhaps the catchment area was not Kandla, it's probably Ahmedabad, it's probably closer to Bhavnagar.
Yes, possibly. Pratima More asked you, considering the practical facilities with respect to international universities, are the facilities provided by IMU colleges enough? I think you've already answered that, but...
Pratima More, if you can finance our trip to foreign universities to check what they have, I'll be in a better position to answer this. Otherwise, you will have to give me this feedback, and that's where that gap analysis includes this. Can you tell me what is it they have and what is it we don't have? But then again, as I said, it's a question of cost, it's a question of trained people, and maintenance cost also.
So, Pankul Garg and Anukarp Singh, I think the questions are very similar. So, they ask you, why can't we make IMU a brand like other major institutions in the country? And Anukarp Singh adds that IMU is not a big brand, so how can it become one? What is the roadmap and vision?
I need a marketing specialist here. If Anupam is one, he's welcome on board. The foreign universities, they have people like they have some, a person who is solely responsible for external communications, what we call PR here, but external communications. There is somebody who is called business development person, section, which we don't have because the UGC model doesn't allow you to have that. And even if we have, how do we afford that person? So brand is one thing, because you can create brand by giving 10 advertisements. You can say awareness is the first thing. Then comes the brand building, but the brand doesn't come on its own. Brand is built by, as I said, the graduates who pass out. If they go and do well, if they occupy good positions, they go up in their career, somebody is going to ask them, oh, you're so good, where did you study? So where does that come from? The inputs that you give, you go out and you stand out saying that, boy, this university seems to, have given them such a good, substantial inputs. So brand doesn't come overnight. Brand has to come by building. That's why academics, faculty, and the equipment that is needed to keep them up to date. You can't do hand tool alone and say that I'll build a brand, right? But they're all interrelated.
And what you said, that the alums really are the ones who create the brand, is so true. So today, DMET, Chanakya, Dufferin, Rajendra
Yes.
have created a brand name not because they advertised or because they put out marketing PRs. They are so good and well recognized because of the cadets who went through those portals.
I mean, even you as professionals, when you hire people and you find a bright person, wouldn't you say, oh my, where did you go? Which college
Absolutely,
did
absolutely, very true.
you go?
Yeah. Dr. Shankar, Aditi asks you, he says, ma'am, isn't it high time to revise the IMU syllabus, which includes more practical knowledge and hands-on jobs than focusing on theory? I'm taking these questions because I want to have a wide range. You addressed some of these already, but very quickly, if you could.
I think I did address it very well, and I also said that I compare it with, for example, the good Russian university that I've spoken to, somebody in Athens. They all say 70% theory, 30% practical. Hands-on experience comes during that 30% in the workshop, which is why, again, it goes back to the workshop has to be well equipped, the machines have to be up to date, the faculty have to be, ultimately it comes to the faculty.
Correct.
A single person can make a difference. We have this one, I remember as DG Shipping, I don't know whether it's still there, the Don Bosco Institute. Their workshop was simple, but their the way they gave it was given with the training was imparted with a incomparable passion. And if you don't do that, if you just say, okay, these are the machines and I will demonstrate you because I'm lazy or I don't know how to do it, I can't answer your questions, I will just demonstrate, then the boy is or the girl is not going to be able to handle complications. So it's the passion, does the faculty or the guest faculty or the instructor know everything about the machine such that they are going to train that student when he goes out, he's ready to work on the ship without any training.
So excellent. Don Bosco is an excellent reference. The BS Trust, which I am a co-chair, we use the Don Bosco school very often. Excellent, and it's really not the equipment; it's the faculty that's so passionate in teaching. Ansh Bhatnagar, asks you. He says that most of the leading shipping companies are looking at AI and marine cybernetics as a field that will take over the current trend in marine engineering in the next decade. Is the university looking at revising the syllabus to include the same?
Absolutely. That's why even the Vision 2030 looks at that, and that's why they are saying to begin with, at the basic level, do introduce computer science and electronics engineering so that they get a hands-on, if they get a hang of those issues. You can't introduce AI suddenly into an undergraduate course, but then we slowly will look at modular courses which can add value to the graduate even later. These AI ships are not going to come overnight. They're not. So you have to build that capability. But please, whoever asks the question, can they refer me professors who are absolutely confident of teaching this? There is a lacuna in some of these areas.
Absolutely. Anukalp Singh has another question, and I thought this was relevant because this is a pain with a lot of students today. He says IMU affiliated colleges taking hefty amount of fees, and still there is no such automatic system. So he says in the COVID situation as well, they are demanding us to pay 2.5 lakhs for the next semester. Any thoughts on that, Dr. Shankar?
I refrain to, it's between the student and it's an individual college. But all I can say is when the student says that, in pandemic situation, I cannot pay the fees, but the institution, most of you run offices, you cannot tell your staff, your faculty, your support staff saying it's pandemic and I cannot pay you. So it's not, there are students who ask, but you're giving only online classes and we are not on workshops, and why are you asking for the fees? But the fact is the workshop has to be maintained. The persons who work at the workshop have to be paid. The faculty have to be paid. The faculty have to reorient their thinking and expertise to deliver classes online. And if you, in a very, very light vein, please don't mistake me. I don't think 1.5 or 2.5 lakhs is the issue, because I find that the pandemic is not preventing anybody from, buying new smartphones, changing their smartphones every year. So for education, are you willing to pay? The more important question is, for the amount that you're paying, are you getting the standard of education?
I think what he also wanted to tell you, the priest, also what he wanted to say was, I think there is no online classes, etc., and yet they are demanding this. I think that was the way in which that question was directed, Dr. Shankar.
No, I'm sure it's, yeah.
Okay, so I think you've addressed that. There's nothing more. Dr. K. Mitra from IMU, I don't know whether it's a question or a statement. You've already answered it, but because it's so passionate issue with people, I'm repeating it. It says, alumni from DNET, Merit, yes, Chanakya may be considered as IMU alumni if possible. You've already clarified that statement. Dr. Mitra, if you're listening in, I think Dr. Shankar is extremely vehement, extremely clear in her approach. She wants as many alumni as possible to register. If you do have a problem registering, please write to me. I will take this message across to her. But now that she's opened the gates, let us all get together and see how we could make this a successful venture.
And I have also ensured that they retain their identity as Chanakya, Rajendra, etc., and doesn't get, just because the institutions have got subsumed into IMU, I said, okay, we will not subsume all of the names into IMU. So you do register as an alumni, but under Rajendra, there are drop downs.
Great. I don't know whether you want to take this question, Dr. Shankar, not really related to you, but we've got quite a few of the cadets who are attending this webinar asking you about how can placements become online. I know this is completely out of your purview. How can shipping companies place students online at this point of time? If you could give them some indicators, they'd be very glad to hear from you.
I think the answer should come from the companies themselves, and many of you represent the companies. I'm sure that you will be in a better position to say, can it be done online?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
I can understand, I empathize with the students concerned, because they are finishing the course, they are facing a situation where everything is online. And I'm sure that the companies will respond. I mean, look, I think people are being hired online through online interviews. So I'm sure even IIT has done that. There will be methods. I don't think, I think every challenge is coming out with a solution.
Absolutely.
6 months back, I did not think that we could actually go online and the internet will hold for more than 10 minutes. We thought the calls were dropping, the internet was dropping, and here you are sitting hours on end from one meeting to another online. And I hear majorly no complaints about
no complaints. Absolutely no complaints.
There are problems, but they are small glitches. They are not major problems that the internet is broken down. So I think every challenge will definitely bring out a system which is new and more robust than the previous one, more convenient than the previous one.
Thomas Mathai again comes back. He says, can there be a common admission procedure for all marine courses like is happening for medical and engineering courses? Can IMU take the lead, Dr. Shankar?
That's what I mentioned. The court has given a stay. So
Mr. Mathai, ma'am did address this question. She did address this issue during our talk. I just wanted to reiterate. They were trying it. There is a stay there. So I hope we'll have some direction in the near future.
In fact, the DG Shipping has given a direction that they should all come under a single umbrella entrance exam,
Correct.
like medical and engineering. And we were trying to put it in place, and somebody has gone to court.
Somebody has gone to court. Okay. There is another question. I'll just moderate it a little bit. Ma'am, do all the colleges affiliated to IMU, do you regulate their fee structure, or is it open to individual colleges to decide how they will charge fees?
There is no central regulation of fee structure.
Okay. So that means that college can have its own fee structure independent of IMU.
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
Because there are some questions about doubling of fees, etc.
There's one thing, in the maritime training, sector, the colleges that offer degree courses are the only ones who come within the ambit of the IMU. All the others are under the jurisdiction of the Director General Shipping.
Okay.
That's something that it should also be understood. Yeah.
Okay. So there are a lot of other questions on. I'll take a last question from Rehan Patrick Sierro. Why does a BSc pass cadet from IMU still have to give written exams to obtain a second mates? Second mates prior to this, under the BITS-Pilani system, the cadet had to give only oral exams to obtain a second mates.
No, I'm not aware of the BITS-Pilani system, but the fact is that one set of exams for the university is based on the UGC pattern and the theoretical knowledge that you get for a degree. The other set is purely goes by the STCW, and for obtaining a COC or CDC, there is a set of exams that is conducted by the DG Shipping. In due course, it might just evolve that both will come together, but at the moment, this is the difference.
Superb. I think we've come to more or less.
I think there was one query that I would like to, which kept popping. It was on what soft skills should the students have in order to, it's something.
I sidestepped that question, Dr. Shankar.
No, but because this I've heard from the day I joined as Director General Shipping, the feedback came so strong from various quarters, industry, past students, seafarers, people interested in education, saying, and over a period of time, they say there are two things which Indian seafarers are falling short, and because of that, the Filipinos, Ukrainians, Vietnamese, to say a few, have overtaken. And this is, I am basically going to, I'm going to say this based on the feedback I get, and not by interviewing students or going to the industry and knowing what is the problem. One is, they say, attitude. Okay, now how do you inculcate attitude in a school or a college or an institution? It has to come, it has to start from home, it has to start from your environment, and it has to, once you grow up, it has to start from within yourself. What is your attitude? And when I pressed this a little and asked them, what do you mean by attitude? They said, see, if we have a Filipino seafarer on board and he is hired or trained only to work on one machine, and he is simply not as knowledgeable as the Indian, but if I tell him, go and work on the other machine, he will say, fine, sir, I'll try, just guide me. That's it. But the Indian will say, no, I'm trained only on this, I'll work only on this. So this is just an example. At various levels, it could be that, if you don't pay me so much, I'll not do it. So it's an attitude towards learning, it's an attitude towards engaging with people and trying to take on additional responsibility. Attitude cannot be defined, but a person who, you have to, for example, I remember when I was working in the SEZ, the IT companies, that was the IT revolution, Y2K, 2000, etc. And the IT, the people who were hiring in the IT industry, they told me that they were absolutely shocked that the student would come and tell them that, I've done my BE electrical engineering, I've done my BE computer science, how much will you pay me? Whereas the issue is you're getting paid not because you got a degree or you've gone through 4 years of college. You're getting paid for what you can contribute to the company. So if you keep that in mind, the attitude will be, and you just have to have an open mind to learn, to engage, to deliver. The second one, and this is something I will be addressing in the IMU itself, communication skills. You say that, Indians used to have excellent communication skills about 20 years ago, but over the last 1 or 2 decades, this skill has come down. When we talk about communication skill, we are not, whether we like it or not, English is the international language, and the ones who are graduating and going into seafaring profession, they are getting into a global, career where English will be useful. Okay, but when we say communication, it is not your mastery over the Queen's English. It is not your mastery over the Ren and Martin that we all went through. It is not grammar and composition and essay writing, but it is an ability to understand the concepts and to think very clearly and express it very cogently, to the point, precise, in a polite manner, and I'm not saying submissive manner, but make your arguments very cogently. And this again is something which cannot be taught in a classroom, by faculty. It has to be, and I will be seeking to do it in various methods, including, for example, I did that as DG shipping with a few institutions. We call them for what I call the leadership camp, where you do a team building exercise, where you communicate. It's also communication. Then you can do it in different methods. But I would urge every student to look at these two aspects.
So WhatsApp and SMS to blame for some of these communication skills, Dr. Shankar?
Possibly, but they seem to be better at communicating in WhatsApp than otherwise. No, yeah, it will, but they have to understand that you cannot use WhatsApp language when you communicate for certain official formal matters. That's all. You have to know where to draw the line. For example, when are you going to be dressed formally and when can you dress informally? So similarly, when can you communicate formally and when can you communicate informally? Now, this discernment of communication, what do you tell when you meet a prime minister is not the same that you would tell when you meet your friend. But you cannot speak the same way to a high superior or your boss the way you speak to your friend. Whereas today, they think that silos should break down and it all should become horizontal. And I can just say, hi, Tom, hi, Dave, hi, Sue, They have to know when they can do that and when they can't do that. Absolutely. And what is the best foot forward that you put in order to impress, not in dress and not in, in praising somebody, but one is your inner substance of, I know this job, but are you confident enough to say, I will take this additional job and do it? And are you able to communicate what you know properly, precisely, and correctly?
Absolutely.
I saw that question, and it is something that I've always been, if you improve that, you improve your chances of getting a job, getting multiple job offers, and actually going up in the career.
So I know somebody, a very close friend of mine. She heads a very large corporate house today, and she defines attitude as saying that it is the resolve of every person to say, I will write a CV only once. That would be my first CV, my first job. Thereafter, my employers have to chase me only on my track record and not me chasing employers on the basis of what money I want. So I think a very powerful message.
Yes.
Dr. Shankar, we could talk to you for ages. One, you're extremely articulate and forthright, but I think we've run out of time. I just want to thank you very much. There's still a lot of questions coming in. Maybe we can have another chat with you. I love this format where we took a lot of questions from our audience today. Wonderful to talk to you, Dr. Shankar, and I must thank you so much for taking your time off. I'll request Rajiv Ramanujan to just propose a small vote of thanks. And once again, very, very pleased with the outcome. Very pleased with the direction that you're seeking to give the IMU, especially on the alumni front. I think we'll support you. We'll support you, and we will make sure that we don't let you down, Dr. Shankar.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I was in fact very hesitant to agree in the beginning, saying how will this interaction go, but I'm very, very happy with the way it went. Thank you so much.
Rajiv, over to you, Rajiv, please.
Yes, please. Madam, thank you so much for sparing your precious time. And well, no one is going to believe that your exposure to IMU has been this short, because you brought a laser-like focus to the issue at hand, and with your possibly your vast administrative experience clarified the vision, and we can only look forward to great things from you. It was brilliant, and it's also fairly amazing how wide a scope you've cut through various fields like HR, training, communication, future needs. So we are just delighted to have you at the helm, and thank you so much. And everyone is the better for having heard you today. We look forward to having you many more times. And if this is impromptu, I don't know what you will do when you're really well prepared. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and look forward to
Thank you,
very
Dr. Shankar. Thank you so much once again. Pleasure to talk to you, ma'am.
Thank
And
you.
on behalf of the president, the chairman of Delhi branch, and other distinguished guests and various participants, thank you very much for this session. And I would like to close this session. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Thank you
Jai
so
Hind.
much. Yeah.
Jai
Jai
Hind.
Hind.
Thank you, Uday sir. Thank you, Satish sir. Nice listening. Only one point I would like to say, this was regarding placement. Companies are indeed doing placements online. They are interviewing the candidates online, asking, this is already started happening. So this was a question, online recruitment has started in the campuses.
So I think Dr. Shankar is sort of interacted with her before. She's so very clear in her thought process. It was a good session. She spoke so very well.
No, she is quite clear, sir, and very experienced. That DGS experience is really coming very handy for her, because she is aware of what are the problems on the other side as well as this side. So only thing, this pandemic, we'll have to find out new ways and means how to do practicals. That is the only thing which is now the biggest problem. And tomorrow we are going to have a meeting with DGS also at 12 o'clock as to how to deal, and if we have to open the institutes, when do we open, how do we open, how do we ask people to do the practicals, which composes almost 30% of the part. We are doing online simulation, online simulators, but there is no substitute to on the job with your own hands. You know it, sir, more than me.
Sudhi sir, good evening.
Hi. I would like to ask Governor one question. That other day I saw one clip. They were showing in Calcutta open crankcase, this steam engine being operated. This is where I worked when I came out of DMT in '66, but it is unheard of nowadays. How come they're still showing in Calcutta?
Sir, that clip which you are seeing is a quite a old clip, sir.
Oh.
Right, sir. And in the next 6 months or so, we are going to have the latest art of equipment in our Calcutta workshop. We are getting a big gas turbine, almost 6 times the size of a room from Navy as a gratis. I had spoken to the Chief of the Naval Staff. The procedures are over. It is coming to us from Visakhapatnam, sir. Right, sir. We are also getting a complete ship from TGLL. That is Director General Lighthouse. They had a ship which they want to donate, so it is going to come to IMU Calcutta, so that the cadets have a real feel of the running machinery and how it runs. Right, sir. So these are the things, improvement. We would have already got this through, but this pandemic really slowed down a lot of things. So earlier I'm not sure how much time it will take, 3 months more or 6 months more. But yes, DMET Calcutta is in the next 1.5 years going to progress on this technological front quite a bit, sir.
Sir, it is very unfortunate that we came to Calcutta, our batch, and we could not meet you. You were on leave that particular day, if you recall. And subsequent to that, I had written you an email also, a couple of things like RO plant and other things which are not operating. And recently I came to the girls, the ladies wanted to go to the washroom and everything was broken, the door was broken. I think you're looking into it. Please take care about these things.
Yes, sir. Your RO plant from Rotterdam, I have got it. We are already progressing on it. So next time when you would come, you would be in for a pleasant surprise, sir.
Thank you very much. So
thank you.
Okay, let's call it a day. Any more? Anybody wants to interact with anybody? Rajiv, ex-DMT also?
Well, yeah, not at the moment. I think it's your call. Kindly, you can stop.
Satish sir, I can see a lot of alums here. Chidi sir has been quiet. Chidi sir, good evening once again. I think it's time now to put together a strong, unified alumni association, whether it is DMED, Rajendra Chanakya, etc. Because this opportunity or this window that Dr. Shankar has opened is really something that will help us all to achieve what is very close to us, contributing to the alma mater.
We tried our best in Delhi, but somehow we were not successful. Rajiv will be able to highlight also. He was
always not successful. We will make it successful in future is what I am proposing to you, Satish sir.
Yeah, but the youngsters have to come up, no? Rajiv?
Yeah, just the one point that I could make is that since the active seafarers, well, they are, I guess, busy with their lives and all that, and the ones, Delhi not being a maritime center, like people have moved on to a lot of other things. So, they've gone to different sectors. So they seem to not feel connected with the maritime sphere anymore. So, apart from any social bonding, they don't seem to be bound to the industry as such. That is one perception I can see. Being a landlocked city, and there is no, apart from dealings with the government, there is not much basis for people from the industry. So there is a lack of bond. The active seafarers, well, that is a call that's an effort that we have to make, that it should be worth their while to spend. They seem to get little time off. Should be worth their while to spend time with the activities of the institute. I'm talking about the institute as such. Alumni associations are another matter altogether, because they are umbrella organizations. You could be in any number of things. The IITs are an example. IIT is tremendously well funded by alumni associations. So this is what we should benchmark ourselves there. It's a long way to go. But if you're merely looking for a social bonding, then that may work, it may not work. It depends on what people feel like. But one of the fundamental reasons, in my opinion, is because being a landlocked city away from the connections to the maritime industry, people don't seem to feel that affiliation to the maritime industry. If it's an old boys club, fine.
Okay, Rajiv, your point is taken. There's a lot of work to be done, I think, and I think all of us need to pool in our efforts. So we all know the reasons why it hasn't happened. I think we need to now pool in reasons to see how it can happen. So maybe we'll take the discussion offline. Satish sir, thank you very much for this.
One moment.
Webinar.
Rajiv, that is not true what you're saying. I remember the youngster, eventually he's moved out to US now, and in a matter of 1 week, he collected about 200 of DMTians.
Yes, that's Rahul Pandey, but unfortunately he moved to the US.
Yes, he's moved to US.
So you need, one young dynamo can make the difference. Yes, he was a dynamo, but
you're the young guy. You're the young guy when compared to me.
That's very kind of
Satish sir, there's been a lot of questions on the chat asking for link to this recording. So can I answer that to say that? Sorry?
We'll be sharing the recording as soon as we get it.
Okay. And where will you put that up on the IMEI website?
Yeah, we'll put it on IMEI website and also in all the social media, and all the members will get it through.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Uday, and thank you very much, gentlemen, for your kind support and keeping your mics mute. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.